Hi class, I want to tell you a little bit about purpose. One, because I think it is one of the terms in the English 1010 classroom that is used the most, and I think that we often overestimate how much our students kind of grasp the term. Whereas we teachers are constantly writing and practicing and developing our own sense of purpose in our writing, I think we overestimate how much our students are actually used to the term purpose. And I think for the majority of our students, they have a very basic surface level understanding of the definition, whereas we teachers, because we practice so much and because we're constantly and consistently writing and developing our own voice, we kind of understand purpose. We kind of just innately get what purpose is. But in a sense, purpose is so much more than we think as teachers, and so much more definitely than our students think. So obviously we don't want to underestimate their abilities, but I also want to make sure that we aren't overestimating what they come in knowing. So what I'll try to do in this presentation is first outline what the majority of, from my experience, what the majority of students think purpose is, and then I'll go through an example to try to help us understand kind of the majority of what comes out of purpose, how it's more than what you think, and then we'll go into how to discuss, how to teach, and how to grade purpose. So I hope you enjoy it, but first, what do our students think? Our students think that purpose is the reason for the writing, simply. It is the reason why we ask them to write. It is just their purpose for detailing what story they're giving or what argument they're making. For instance, one thing that made me think of this is we're teaching, if you're in teaching 1010 right now, we're teaching Unit 3, which is the argumentative essay. And so a lot of the purpose that I was getting today in class when I asked was to persuade, to show, to prove to the audience what our argument is. And yes, to sense that's true, but that does not consist of the entire purpose. Students often, a common answer will be it's the answer to the prompt. We give them a topic, we give them a prompt. Their goal and their purpose for that writing is simply to answer the prompt, which obviously is not our main goal and is not the main purpose of the essay. But for a majority of the students, at least in my class, when I was going over kind of how to teach analysis and how to teach narrative and how to teach argument, when I would ask, what's the purpose of this essay, this is a lot of what I would get in my class. And so I would like to go through an exercise to try to see and help us all envision how purpose is so much more than that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, right now, just briefly, think of your favorite song and start singing it simply. Just think of your favorite song and start singing it or humming it or just thinking about it. So as you're thinking of that song and as you're humming that song, think of what is the purpose of me asking you to do that. So the answer that I would give to my question is it depends. It depends on what I'm asking you for. The purpose depends on multiple different aspects. So, for instance, in this case, it depends on your audience. Say you were singing just to yourself. Well, the purpose for me to ask you to sing to yourself is for your own happiness. Maybe me telling you to sing your own song just elevates your mood. It gets you pumped. It gets you excited. You're singing your favorite song at the top of your lungs, and that's a good feeling. However, say you're singing it to your spouse or your children or pets or anyone else in the room. Maybe then you're singing for their enjoyment, or perhaps you're singing to make a point or to add evidence as to why you're such a great singer. In any case, we have to understand that this purpose for me asking you to sing that song goes so much deeper than what we thought it was. It depends on audience. However, it depends on so many more different aspects of what we call the rhetorical situation. So let me try to explain that a little bit better. It depends first on the author. It depends on what you know. Your singing abilities, maybe. That could be the purpose. It depends on maybe your living situation. If you live alone or if you live with a bunch of people, maybe that depends on your purpose. Obviously, it depends on your audience, as we just said. but it also depends on your topic. And in a sense, I would call the topic one of the most important, if not the most important part of rhetorical situation, and one of the most important parts for understanding the purpose. So, for instance, if I were to tell you to tell me about your favorite movie, or tell me about your favorite thing in general, I may have not have gotten to the exact answer I wanted, which was your favorite song. So by me prefacing that I wanted your favorite song and I wanted you to think about that, that navigates your purpose. So your purpose there navigates more and specifies more to your favorite song. It's not just to your favorite thing, not just to your favorite movie or your favorite book. It's to your favorite song specifically. Then we focus on context. What is the context of that song? Next, what is the context of the situation? Why are you singing that specific song? Or maybe your favorite song just depends on the day or depends on the mood. So what about that day or what about that mood changes that song for you? All of this goes into purpose. And finally, culture. One, what is the culture of the song you sang? Is there a sense of culture around that song, or is there a sense of culture within your household that makes you want to sing that song? So in all of these, you must understand that first, you have to understand the aspects of rhetorical situation to get and to understand your purpose. You have to understand your audience. You have to understand your author, who you are, how you write. You have to understand the topic. What am I asking? What is the prompt in this situation? But you also must understand the context and the culture. How do you relate to those rhetorical situations? What depth, what evidence are you giving to say, yes, you can sing, or what evidence about the song specifically makes it your favorite? There's so many different things that you can analyze that fit so well with purpose. But it's just all about understanding first that those parts go into the rhetorical situation, and all of these things make up that purpose. So, how do we teach this? And this is one of the most difficult questions that I've tried to answer for quite a while in this course, because it's just so broad. And for a while now, I've just now, I think, began starting to understand how to teach this. And so I'm going to try to give you some tips and tricks that I found work for me. First, we as writing teachers have to understand that most writing and most grading of writing is subjective. It just is. It's the nature of our job. It's the nature of how we grade. We are not going to agree necessarily with everything our students write, but we must realize that our views and our purposes and our reasoning behind the writing is going to be different from our students. There's going to be multiple things that we're going to get from this writing. So I think that's the first thing I had to come to terms with, is that I'm not going to like every piece of writing. I'm not gonna do like one of the discussions did, one of the articles that we read, and simply try to like every single one. But I will understand that it is subjective. There are great things that come out of many different papers. We also have to get our students to understand how to tie this argument, this purpose, into the rhetorical situation. How do we do this? The way I found works best is you go through, once you give the topic to them, once they get the prompt, you go through, okay, students, how do we tie this into audience? Who are we focusing on? If this is your argument, who does this apply to? Again, how does this appeal to culture? Are you appealing to your own culture? Are you appealing to another culture? Are you appealing to a culture 40 years ago? And then what is your context? What evidence are you going to provide? What are we analyzing? What is the context of what our situation is? Who are you as an author? What writing is going to define you and what you believe? All of these things come together and they gear towards how to make your purpose. And so the easiest way, I think, for our students to begin to understand that is just to outline every piece of the rhetorical situation and talk with them, have a discussion with them as to how this applies to the purpose. How does the rhetorical situation come together to prove purpose? Thirdly, I ask my students all the time, and I ask myself, do my students understand the topic? Does my topic make sense? Do I need to do something better as a teacher to help them understand that topic? And I think by doing this, you will get more structured, more understanding, obviously, of the topic of what we are asking, because often once we get in a routine of asking the same questions, and maybe we aren't formulating our ideas to people as best as we can, this question and kind of checking yourself is a great way to begin understanding if your topic makes sense, if you're going to get what you want out of your students. This again goes out of the assessment piece and kind of formulating ideas, making sure that we as teachers make sense and are leading our students in the right direction. And again, like mentioned in the first with writing a subjective, we have to understand that there are so many purposes that can arise that we necessarily might not agree with, or that weren't what we were thinking, but did they work? Did they tie in to the situation? We don't always know exactly what's going on with our students, so making sure that those work and that we understand that there's going to be different purposes is such a crucial piece of understanding and teaching rhetorical situation, or teaching purpose rather. Finally, so what is purpose? Purpose is simply the lesson, the story, or the reason that comes from writing based on multiple components of a rhetorical situation. Again, like mentioned many times in this presentation, we have to understand rhetorical situation and the components for us to understand the depth and how complex purpose is. Purpose from a surface level could be the reason behind our writing, but once you dive deeper into the reason for the word, we understand that it makes up so much more. There's so many more pieces and aspects that make up this word. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've gotten something out of this piece, and let me know if you've ever have any questions. Thanks so much.